Hi, and welcome back to Lisa's Stamp Studio. The supply list is very short today. You're going to need a black ink pad, black cardstock, and white cardstock. And we're going to create 3 beautiful black and white cards. I'm going to demonstrate one with you, and I have 2 others to share with you. Very simple, basic stamping. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Click the bell icon, and you'll be assured to receive notifications when I'm live right here on YouTube, as well as when I share a new video. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's project. I'm going to start by creating the focal point for this card, and I've chosen a greeting and a beautiful butterfly image, all from the same stamp set. And it's called Butterfly Wishes. You'll find this in the annual catalog. Several of the images in this stamp set are distinctive, which means they are photographic-like, which is exactly what the butterfly is that we're going to use today. We are going to use this branch and flowers image as well for the background. I'm going to start by stamping the greeting first, and I have the words, "It was a perfect day because of you." We'll go ahead and we'll ink those up, and that's going to get stamped here near the bottom. I'm going to switch over now to the butterfly image, and we'll ink that one up as well. I'll stamp that image just above the greeting. Now you can get a good look at that photographic type of stamp. Isn't this beautiful? Now we're going to create the background for that image next. I have 4 strips of Whisper White cardstock here. Each of them measures 1 1/8 inch wide by 3 3/4 inches long. Now, if you prefer, you can stamp one piece of paper and then cut up your squares, but I prefer this because then I can vary the pattern for my background. Since my image is longer than my cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I protect that background on my work surface. I'll start with one of those panels here, and I've chosen that branch and floral image. We'll go ahead and we'll ink this up. And I'm going to turn this because I decided I want this top one where most of my images are in the center. And I'll stamp that here. I've just inked up the stamp again, and this time I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to vary that pattern just slightly. Now you're going to need to re-ink the stamp, otherwise what's left on here is going to be lighter. So I'm going to come back into my ink pad and I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to concentrate mostly now on this side, and I'll stamp the rest of that image here. I've just inked up my stamp again. I'm going to turn it so that I have a different impression, and I'll stamp my flowers and my branch here. And then finally, I've inked it up one more time, and this time I'm going to vary the image yet again. I want to share a tip with you when you're using darker inks. If you're like me and you clean your stamps as frequently as you should before you put them away, you're going to find that you're going to need to rinse out your Stampin' Chamois or your scrub more often. So what I like to do is I like to stamp off all the excess ink I can on my scratch paper before I clean it on my scrub or my chamois. That's going to help reduce my trips to the sink to rinse out that dirty scrub or chamois. I've cut a piece of basic black cardstock that's slightly bigger than this. This measures 2 3/4 by 3 inch. I'm going to use my silicone craft sheet. Absolutely love this product since adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to it. I've added my adhesive to the back side. And then we're going to go ahead and mirror this here, leaving a small border all the way around. This is a piece of basic black cardstock measuring 4 by 5 1/4, and this is where our panels are going to go. And I want to give you some tips about this. Go ahead and lay those strips out first. This is going to allow you to vary the pattern to make sure that it looks the way you want. Now you can see that these two are very, very similar. So I'm going to switch these around. I'm going to move this one up here, and then I'm going to turn this one and place this one here, and turn the bottom one as well. So now each of the panels looks quite independent from the one above it. Now let's talk about the spacing because this can be challenging. I do recommend that you lay them exactly where you want them first. Now if you prefer, you can take a pencil and you can make small marks around the outside perimeter. What you're looking to do is you're looking to create about the same amount of space between each of these horizontal panels. Now once it looks good, you can go ahead and get started, and this is where I love that silicone craft sheet. So I'm going to start with the top panel here, and I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to add adhesive to the back side, and then I'm going to adhere this near the top where we had designed. I am being very careful not to press it too hard because in case I have to shimmy it just a little bit, I can do so. So I've just lightly tapped it. I'll do the same thing now with this one. Looking to leave that space between those layers, we'll go ahead and tack this one in place. We're moving on to the next panel, and we'll do the same thing here. And then finally, our last panel. Now I have 2 other cards I'm going to be sharing with you, so make sure you hang with me to the end of the video. Now, once those panels are where you want them, go ahead and give that a good cursory rub to make sure that those are stuck in place. Now we're going to come over here to the card base. This is Whisper White. It measures 5.5 by 8.5. I did score it in half right before you joined me. And I'm using my bone folder for that nice crisp edge. I'm going to work now on the back side and place adhesive in my 4 corners. This now will get centered in the middle of our card base, leaving a margin of that white showing all the way around. Finally, we have our image layer. I'm going to flip that over. I'm very careful to use my dimensional so that the weight is distributed well. I know that I'm going to be mailing my card, and I want to make sure that it's not going to sag on the receiving end. Your cards go through the postage meter at the post office, and it does go through rollers, so that can do a real number on your card, so use those well. I'm going to gravitate this image more towards the top. What I was looking to do was be able to showcase these panels well versus centering it in the middle of my card. Now I have several other samples to share with you that are black and white as well. This one uses the buffalo check and the Celebrate Sunflowers, as well as the So Sentimental stamp set. Now, while this might look complicated, it is not at all. These are simply stamped in black. Same with the greeting. I did use some dies. I just cut off one of the ends. Now let me talk to you about the buffalo check here. This is actually on a separate piece of cardstock so that I can stamp just a small area, and then I adhered it to the layer here on the card base. This one uses some embellishments, so I added some ribbon and some rhinestones to bring in that sparkle, but you certainly could add a small strip of cardstock here if you want it, and of course eliminate the rhinestones if you choose. Now, last but not least, this is a very simple layout, but it can be used for all types of cards. These strips are a 1/2 inch wide. The center one is a little bit longer than the outside two. I've used a greeting here from Ridiculously Awesome, and then of course I stamped the inside of this card as well. So this has a fun base to it, meaning that this piece is one sheet, and then the top front layer of our card opens up to reveal the entire card itself. I would love to know which one of these is your favorite. Would you leave me a comment below? And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like a copy of the current catalog, you can request one over at lisasstampstudio.com and click on catalogs. If you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. It certainly helps. And I look forward to having you join me next time. Have a great day.